You're going to tell me that a group of 20 towelheads hijacked all of these airplanes and crashed them into the World Trade Center towers. It's hogwash. Every bit of it's hogwash. Our government planned it. Our government implemented it. And then they hit it, and they took away the evidence. I mean, you ever seen anything quickly get moved so quickly out of the way as the rubble of these trade towers so that the evidence would go with it? You know, these towers came down by implosions, by bombs, by detonations. They didn't go down by these airplanes hitting them. You know, the airplanes, most of the fuel wasn't even... Most of it was burned outside the building before it even hit inside the building, first of all. Another thing is it was never hot enough to melt steel. You could have filled up that entire plane with a full tank of fuel and set it on a floor and put it on fire in that building. Fully loaded with fuel. And it wouldn't have brought those huge towers down. Because diesel fuel can't ignite hot enough to melt steel. And these were steel buildings, folks. And so it came down pretty much the same way the OKC building did. And the laughing matter, the joke of that was framing Timothy McVeigh for that one. You know, some fertilizer bomb bringing down that building. Yeah, right. And it was the same protocol. It was the same, you know, people hearing explosions and the whole thing about the thing being imploded rather than some little fertilizer bomb on the outside front of it going off in a truck. You know, and Tim McVeigh took the fall for that. And for the World Trade Towers, the Arabs took the fall for that. You know, it's already been, you know, when we set it back, even when it happened, about how Bin Laden's family had been here in the United States the day before the World Trade Towers went down. And so they hurried up and flew them back out of the country. You know, they're not enemies, folks. These people are all drinking martinis together, scripting all this stuff, planning this stuff. We need boogeymen to get us in the Middle East, to cause these wars in the Middle East, and so they contrive them. They make them up. Saddam Hussein, you think that's him in prison in his underwear? A lot of you have seen this photo of him lately in his underwear. That's not him. You know, if you look back on my site, the Watcher Files, I posted a photo back, a year ago, 2 years ago, when they first arrested Saddam Hussein, and the whole thing was contrived. Because the month that they stated that they pulled him out of that pit, they imprisoned him, there were the trees nearby had dates on them. And there's only certain months of the year that grows on, so it wasn't even, you know, you could tell they were lying from that point on. The whole thing's been a lie. It's been a contrived lie. His own wife said that wasn't him, that it was one of his aides. And we know that Saddam Hussein had 12 lookalikes that would pose as him. And our own presidents have used those. George Bush has aides, lookalike aides, people that pose as him, that go to functions posing as the president when it's not really him. It's one of his lookalikes, one of his aides. And they do this with plastic surgery and stuff. And so all the world leaders do it, folks. And Saddam Hussein had 12 of them. And that's the one that they have over there, as one of his aides. It's not the original Saddam Hussein. And so they're terrorizing and tormenting this guy. And he's not the real Saddam. He's not the real Saddam. The real Saddam is sitting with Bin Laden somewhere, soaking martinis, drinking martinis, and laughing, probably. And how, because like I've said, countries are working together to destroy each other. They're all in the brotherhood. They've all sworn oaths of loyalty to Lucifer. They all serve him. They're not loyal to their countries, and that's another thing why America allowed itself to become so corrupt and get so corrupted without realizing what was going on. It was one of these backdoor things that just overtook us in a rush, because you can't serve God and man, and definitely you can't swear loyalty to more than one person. And so what happens is all of our presidents belong to these secret societies, whether you're a Mason or a Skull and Bonesman, or one of these secret societies that you're in, you're swearing loyalty to Lucifer. So when you put your hand on the Bible and swear that you're going to uphold and defend the Constitution of America, you're lying. They're lying. They can't do that because they've already sworn their oath of loyalty to Lucifer, and any other loyalty oath that they take becomes subservient to the one to Lucifer. In other words, no matter what they do, no matter how many oaths they take, it never supersedes the one that they took for Lucifer. He's always the dominant oath. And so our president and the ones before him, who have all sworn oaths of loyalty to uphold and defend the Constitution of America, were lying. And you've seen it through their actions that they were lying. Because they no sooner get into office and they start passing legislation that's going to destroy and curtail our freedoms under the Constitution. And so it should have never been allowed. It should have never been allowed that anybody running for public office could belong to a secret society. They should have eliminated that from the start. And it wasn't done, and that's what's come back to destroy America. Because you can't have more than one loyalty to one person. You know, and so if their loyalties to Skull and Bones, and George Bush Sr. and Jr. have both, you know, admitted that they're in Skull and Bones, members of Skull and Bones, worshiping Satan. Hello? Do you really think their loyalties to America? No. And so America, being one nation under God, to them becomes a one nation under Lucifer as God. All they do is change the terminology to put people to sleep, to put churches to sleep. You know, the New World Order, when George Bush announced it in 1991, people weren't paying attention to what it was. They thought, oh, a New World Order where we all unite and we seek peace. Well, that sounds good. Yeah, but this is Satan's style, not our way of thinking. You know, and nothing happens the way we think it's going to be. You know, things either happen the way the Lord thinks or the way that Lucifer thinks, because all things in this world are controlled by one or the other. You either worship Lucifer or you worship the Lord. Because if you don't really worship the Lord, you don't confess the Lord as your Savior, as your Lord, Satan owns you on default. He gets you on default. You know, the Lord said if you're lukewarm, He's going to spit you out of His mouth. So if you're fence-sitting, He doesn't own you. Satan owns you on default. He owns every one of these fence-sitters. And I'm always stating on the show over and over and over again, if you're on the fence, get off of it. Get off the fence. Because Satan owns fence-sitters on default. You know, the Lord is raising up an army in these last days to serve Him. And we know that, you know, these are the last days. You know, 2005 could be another setup year. We could have time until 2007. Or things could speed up, folks. And, you know, like I said, you know, May, June, and July are dominant months for the beasts of the Antichrist to come. And these are, you know, Maitreya, Sananda, and Germain. And, of course, they're making their presence more and more known with the orbs and the motherships. People are seeing in the sky, as the, you know, the sky is just clouds or UFOs. It's just, you know, becoming more and more and more obvious that we're not alone in this universe, and of course they want to tell you to believe their version of it, but we already know who they are from what the Lord tells us about them. And they're fallen angels. They serve Lucifer. They're part of his last days army, otherwise known as the Omegans, and it was Saint Germain who called them, referred to them all as the Omegans, and that's why we call them the Omegans. And they serve him, and they're coming to overtake and conquer this world and deceive this world into accepting Lucifer as God. And that's going to be their ultimate purpose, to deceive the world. And they're going to be good, and they're going to do it. I mean, billions are going to be deceived that aren't killed because they're fully prepared to kill billions that resist them and don't believe them. We're going to fight against them. They're fully prepared to persecute them, to kill them. Well, that's it for this week, folks. I'm going to wrap it up. I don't know what I'm going to be doing next week yet. I'll post it on my site or just keep you updated on my bloggers throughout the week. God bless. Have a good night and good week for next week. God bless everybody.